I've known Bob Bennett for 30 years. He's had a lengthy and impressive career. He specializes, he actually does a whole lot of different things, but as long as I've known Bob, he has been focusing on defense of legal malpractice and professional liability, both at the grievance level. I know he's done the State Board of Medical Examiners and does a lot of work before the Bar Grievance Committee, which I happen to be on. Bob he was served as general counsel for Coca-Cola Bottling Company in Guatemala. He's represented clients throughout Texas, many parts of the United States, in a variety of civil and criminal matters. He's one of the few lawyers I know that does both civil and criminal and does them both very well. He's really contributed to our legal education. He has been an adjunct professor for a number of years, and he's always available to help any lawyer who needs any help. If you have a problem, Bob Bennett's the guy to call. Bob Bennett.
Well, thank you. What I'm here to talk to today about is the issue of Barratary and how that has changed and how that may impact your practice in both solicitation, advertising, and then what is going on both civilly, criminally, and with the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel and the way they're approaching the issue of Barratary. And so, of course, the first question is, what is Barratary? And unfortunately, nobody really has a definition of it. Everybody knows what it is, but if you go to the criminal code or if you go to the rules of professional responsibility, you will not find a definition of it. What you'll find is a functional statement of what consists of Barratary, but actually a definition. So that makes it difficult. We have now passed this civil liability law that deals with the $10,000 recoverable amount in attorney's fees, that if you can show Barratary occurred, you as an attorney can bring a civil lawsuit for that. In addition, what we now have is a Barratary prosecution unit that has occurred in several different counties. That's the one that Wendy Baker was in charge of with the District Attorney's Office. And we also know that with the Insurance Commission, they have hired specific prosecutors to go after Barratary and insurance fraud. So the reality of this is that, yes, it's hard to make a Barratary case. The other part of it is they are going to start doing this, and you need to be aware of the potential for a Barratary prosecution in the way that you practice law. This legislation that's been passed dealt with whether or not you had a contract and whether that contract could be voided or not. It dealt with also allowing you, the specifics of this are that if somebody came to you and you could prove that they had been unlawfully solicited, violated the Barratary statutes, you could then file a lawsuit for that individual. You could not only get damages, you could also get a $10,000 fine, but the important part and sort of the incentive that we see now attorneys advertising for these type of cases is you get all your attorney's fees. So in a situation where you can find a client who you find out has been wrongfully solicited or has maybe been wrongfully included in sort of class action, or you think that there's been a violation of the Barratary law, that client has worth now. Has worth from the standpoint of whatever damages that person can show, worth because of your at least $10,000, but more importantly, the law specifically says you can get all of your attorney's fees and costs. The amendments that are going to affect September the 1st, 2013 are interesting because you could, under the amendment that was passed in 2011, if you voided the contract of the person who you solicited, that exception would allow you not to be prosecuted or not to be sued under this. And now, either a client or a non-client who has been wrongfully solicited can still bring this action. So that was one change that was made in the most recent legislation. What is interesting in the new legislation, though, and this is something that I just want to call your attention, and no one really knows exactly how this got into the 2013 law, but the Barratary sections and the solicitation sections of the Code of Professional Responsibility include 703 and 702, and they've now been added into the definition of what is barratry for the first time. And no one knows exactly why that was done. Edwards testified on the House side of this legislation. I talked to Senator Duncan, who sponsored it on the Senate side. But what this means is that a prosecutor will probably only bring a barratry case if he has support of the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel. And working together, they can show that not only have you violated the barratry law, but you also violated the Code of Professional Responsibility, or the misconduct rules, okay? And so when those two come together in your advertising, come together in solicitation, that can make a strong case, and I think we're going to have prosecutors looking at this. And one individual with the Department of Insurance, Jesse McClure, stated, it's a safe bet that we're going to see an increase in the prosecution of this. He added that when State Representative Ron Reynolds was arrested, it got everyone's attention, and he expects to prosecute a number of barratry cases that will come to light as a result of the new law in his insurance fraud investigations. Now, this was a case that's got some notoriety because there was arrests made and indictments returned on barratry for 3 individuals: Adrian Anderson, Dr. Hall, who was a chiropractor, and State Representative Ron Reynolds. The allegation was that using a chiropractor as an individual who would have cases referred to him by a marketing entity, the chiropractor would then send the cases to Ron Reynolds' office. Now, the key to this case, and kind of the outcome, which was rather unique, is at the end of the day, the investigator on this case was an individual by the name of Lonnie Blevins. And you might have heard of Mr. Blevins as the person who worked for the District Attorney's Office who had a fetish for comic books. And he sold these comic books to a dealer up in Chicago, and he even showed the dealer in Chicago his badge from the Harris County District Attorney's Office, and he ended up being indicted in federal court. Wendy Baker was the prosecutor of this case and some other barratry cases. This case was dismissed. Lonnie Blevins was indicted, and Wendy Baker no longer has a job with the District Attorney's Office. So it's not every day in criminal prosecution, when you're on the defense side, that you see the investigator wearing orange, the prosecutor no longer with a job, and Dr. Hall, my client, is going to have his record expunged. So that was a good outcome for that. For your benefit today, let me explain what I see as the techniques that the District Attorney's Office, certainly in Montgomery County and Harris County, are using. And one is sending undercover individuals into plaintiff's attorneys' offices to try to get them to commit barratry by telling that they will pay somebody for a case, or they will engage them in a violation of the barratry laws. Also, for the first time, we have wiretaps and consensual recordings being made, which is a unique situation with barratry prosecution. And so the sum total of this, as far as the plaintiff's practice and other practices too, is that you need to be really, really careful about who's referring your cases. You need to be very careful about your solicitation. You need to be very careful about your advertising. The State Bar of Texas Advertising Review Committee is kind of a pain in the rear, but at the same time, they are very helpful in going over with you your ads, your solicitation letters, whatever you want to do as far as marketing is concerned. They will give you an advisory opinion. They will tell you what is wrong with that advertising or marketing, and they will make sure that you're in compliance, especially if you don't send it out until you contact them. If you wait, contact them, get approval, send it out, that is an absolute defense to any type of barratry charge. So if you want to ask some more questions about this, there'll be no charge. So thank you very much.